Hey, what's up, Sophie?
Hey, what's up, Rob?
What are you doing?
I'm just throwing away these food scraps into the trash.
Wait, stop! Did you know there's a much better way to dispose of your food scraps that's environmentally conscious and sustainable for your community at the same time?
What? I had no idea.
Let me show you how to compost in your own home. You could even do it if you live in a small apartment. So Sophie, there's a lot of different ways you can compost, but today I'm going to show you a specialized technique that I found useful for me, which is called vermicomposting. And do you know what we use to vermicompost?
What do we use?
We use worms.
Cool. Good.
Worms. And I'm going to show you some of the supplies that we need to do this. So first thing you'll need that's very important is a container. Generally, if you have an oblique container, that'd be very useful, but if all you have in your household is a clear container, that's okay too. You just have to store it in a very cool, dark place in your house, such as under your sink. You will also need some soil, just to start the process. Food scraps, of course, and extra paper that you don't need anymore in your household that's, just cut up. So, the first part of this process would be to create holes in the top of your container where you'll put these food strainers at so, the worms can actually have some air ventilation and breathe, right? We all want that.
Yeah, okay.
So, Sophie, Sophie, do you want to show how big the holes need to be?
Yeah, so you're just going to cut the holes to be the same size as your strainer. And so that you can push the strainer through the hole.
And it's very important not to make the hole too big or your strainer will just fall right through.
Just like that. Okay.
The next step would be...
So we'll put this aside for now.
Yeah, so the next step would be to moisten your paper a little bit. So you want to get a little bit of water. So if you want to put a little bit of water in there. You want to put a little bit of water and make it slightly damp. You don't want to make it too wet where it's like soggy. You just want to get it like just damp enough where it feels moist when you touch the paper. Good job, Sophie.
Okay. Looks good.
Get all the water moved around in there. Shifted around.
Okay.
The next step, we're going to put the worms that we have in this container on top of the paper that's a little damp. Yeah, so Sophie will be doing that.
What do the worms do, Robert?
The worms actually are going to be eating the excess food that we put in there, and they're going to be making new soil from their secretions. Secretions is basically
new dirt, right?
New dirt, new soil. And
Okay.
Don't worry about not putting enough or putting too many worms. The worms have the way of self-regulating themselves in their ecosystem. So
Where did you buy these worms, Robert?
I bought these worms at a local fishing store. So contact your local fishing store if you have any questions about buying any type of worms. The worms that we're using for this are red worms. Check it out, y'all.
Okay.
The
What's next?
The next step is to put the food waste into the container.
Awesome. So I have some avocado stuff. Is it okay to put coffee grinds in it?
It is okay to put coffee grinds in there. But what's very important that you want to keep in mind for your vermicomposting site is not to put any meat products or dairy products because worms generally have a hard time processing that. And if you do, it may smell a little bad. But using products that do not have any dairy or have any meat will generally keep your composting site smelling
Much better.
much better.
So here we have all of our food scraps in the composting bin. Amazing.
And the last step that we want to do is to place this topsoil on top of all the food, and it's going to be used as a barrier to kind of like neutralize any type of smell that these foods may produce until the worms are able to eat all of it. So that's what I'm doing right here. Oh, Sophie, you want to do a little
Yeah,
bit?
I'll do a little too. All right. Is that it?
And that's generally all we have to do. Within the next 4 to 5 months, this entire container should eventually turn to soil. So, and you can put food weekly into the corners of each side of the bin to replenish the worm's food supply, and eventually you'll have a container full of soil.
Cool. So now I'll put the lid on. Where should I put this?
You should store it in a place that's very cool and dark, because that's where worms like to live. So under your sink would be a great idea.
Awesome. Thanks for teaching me a great way to stay environmentally friendly and give back to the community at the same time.
No problem, Sophie.